be
very interesting.
Yeah.
Dricus is fucking scary. That's a guy who's so big for 85.
The way he looked against I didn't give him a fucking chance against Robert Whittaker, and boy was I wrong.
Well, also that's after he got his deviated septum surgery, which I think. I mean, it's a big factor.
Yeah.
Being able to breathe out your nose.
If you can't breathe, you can't fight.
Yeah. But it's like Dricus looks awkward when he fight. He moves different.
Yeah.
But that movement and that awkwardness makes him difficult to time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like his timing is off.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anybody that can imitate that kind of stutter step motion that he does.
He fights weird.
Yeah. It's deceptively technical, though. Deceptively.
It's his style. Like you can't say it's wrong. You know, like that's how he fights, and it works. And he's like, you can tell he's strong. Like I think he's going to come in and really try to like put like a hard grappling pace on Sean.
Dricus is a fucking animal,
dude.
That's
a tough motherfucker.
He's a fucking animal.
That's a
holy
tough
shit
fucking guy.
I was saying that those punches, even though he's exhausted, you can't be in those exchanges. You're gonna get clipped. If you get clipped, you're in real trouble. Fuck, he got hit with those big right hands, man. He got rocked with those right hands.
God, this makes me feel like...
From showing raw power in the cage to releasing sharp new training clips, Dricus Du Plessis has been catching eyes, especially Joe Rogan's. When DDP's latest footage dropped, Joe didn't hold back. He compared Dricus to some of the UFC's biggest names and raised some interesting points about what sets him apart. So, what exactly did Joe see? Let's break it down.
And that, man, like, Dricus is fucking scary. The way he beat the fuck out of Robert Whittaker, who saw that coming? Especially after Whittaker and Adesanya had a very close second match, and then he's so big, dude.
He hits so hard.
Every time I shake his hand, I'm like, how the fuck are you 185 pounds?
Yeah.
He looks like a heavyweight.
Yeah. And now you give that guy confidence after you beat a guy like Robert Whittaker, who was always the guy with Izzy's not champ, Whittaker's the fucking guy, and he starched him.
Joe started off by making a pretty bold statement. He said if he had to place a bet right now between Dricus and Khamzat Chimaev, he'd lean toward Dricus. And that's a big deal considering how much hype has followed Chimaev around. But Joe wasn't just going off feelings. He mentioned that when it comes to Khamzat, there are still too many question marks. He's explosive, no doubt, but that doesn't always equal long-term dominance.
And that's why I think DDP has a good chance.
We'll see. I'm very interested to see who prevails.
I think people don't understand when you're in there and you got a guy that never fucking takes a step backwards. It
and doesn't
throws
get
you off. You never can plant.
Right.
So you're not hitting your power shots. You're not doing the damage that you would if you were dictating. You're not going on your terms when you're going backwards the whole time. And that's why I think DDP has a good chance, because he's going to fight for that center to walk forward.
We've seen him being as exhausted as anybody can be in the third round. This is a 5-rounder. Bring your first round. I am going to meet you in the middle and we are going to wrestle. We can wrestle that first round, the whole first round. And then we come out in that second round and we'll see what we feel like. And we can wrestle you have around a minute left in that second round. And then we're going to fight my fight. Then we're going to wrestle on my terms, and then we're going to strike on my terms.
Rogan brought up how Khamzat is known for charging in and getting a hold of his opponent from several feet away, forcing chaos immediately. That's worked on some fighters, but not on everyone. Against Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, for example, Khamzat couldn't bulldoze his way to victory. Joe pointed out that Usman might have been past his prime, yet still managed to go the distance. That says a lot. So Joe sees Dricus as a guy who might be more durable and composed in those intense situations.
See, I would give DDP the advantage over Khamzat right now. If I had to bet on it.
It's hard to say because we don't know what happens.
There's so many question marks. We don't know.
Khamzat just shoots from like 15 feet away and gets a hold of your legs.
But I look
so
at Kamaru. He didn't do that to Kamaru Usman. He didn't do it to Gilbert Burns. We go in the third, fourth, and fifth.
He gave Usman for the first 3 rounds a nightmare. He was
he was taking him down, but he couldn't finish him. That's an older Usman.
That's true.
That's not a vintage Usman. Up to 85.
Usman's a world champion. You know, in the third round, Usman did what a world champion does. He rallied. And then Usman's fucking dangerous standing up.
He's a world champion?
Some good shots.
Yep. And he's bigger.
Yeah.
And you look at Gilbert, too. Gilbert weathered the storm, and then he gave him hell also.
Dana White confirms Khamzat Chimaev is next.
He also explained why middleweight is an important factor here. Khamzat moved up to 185 to avoid draining weight cuts, which seemed like a smart move. But when he fought Usman at that weight, he still gassed out. Joe noticed that. He said a lot of people expected expected Khamzat to be stronger and more efficient at middleweight, but instead, he slowed down as the fight went on, and that's something Dricus doesn't seem to struggle with. In fact, DDP's gas tank is one of his underrated strengths.
In their prime,
he was
DDP?
taking him down decisively.
Who was
though. He was
Khamzat
outright
supposed to fight? That was a last-minute replacement. Was Usman?
Nate
Who was
Diaz.
Khamzat?
And they put in
That's right.
And then they put in Kevin Holland.
That would have been horrible.
That would have been
bad.
Yeah, that
That would have been horrible.
The UFC was like, we're getting backlash.
That would have been.
We're getting some backlash here. Let's Kevin, you
Crazy.
down? He's like, I guess.
That would have been crazy.
Styles make fights, and you never seen Dricus fight a good wrestler, and Khamzat's one of the best. So
And
it's
you got to
fucking
think his
best.
endurance is probably going to be better at 85 than it was at 70 because of the cut.
Yeah.
For Khamzat, it's like 85 is really where he should have been all along.
But again, he gassed out against Usman. That was at 85.
Another point Joe made was about the wrestling matchup. He reminded listeners that Dricus has yet to face someone like Khamzat, who is relentless with takedowns and scrambles. That unknown is what makes the potential fight so intriguing. We've seen Dricus do well against strikers and show solid grappling defense, but how would he respond if someone like Khamzat kept forcing the wrestling game? Joe didn't try to answer that completely. He just made it clear that it's the kind of test we haven't seen yet.
Bro,
Khamzat fight.
Best fight they can make.
puzzle MVP is. What a puzzle.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ian
Shout out
Gary.
Bullet just couldn't do nothing to him. But even on the feet, Ian Gary was getting lit up too.
Yeah, Ian Gary had to wrestle.
He just had to wrestle.
Ian
Yeah.
Gary impressed me even with his loss with
Shopcut.
Oh, yeah.
He was the closest to ending it.
Great, yep.
And he's well-rounded.
Great fight.
Oh, Ian Gary would be a
Shit.
champion. Yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
great.
Yeah, he is champion.
And you need a
written all
fight
over.
like that. Super close.
Joe also touched on the mental side. When he talked about Khamzat versus Usman, he praised how Usman came back strong in the third round, even after taking damage. That's what Joe called a champion moment, when someone digs deep and still delivers. Now, he didn't say Dricus is there yet, but he did seem to suggest that Dricus is climbing toward that level of grit and composure. He's not just relying on power anymore, and Joe seems to respect that growth.
Khamzat is a fucking assassin. Khamzat is a terrifying human being. He's terrifying. He's really good. He's really good and really big.
I get scared at home.
You should be.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is.
Yeah. Khamzat's a murderer. I mean, when he gets into that octagon, he's a seek and destroy. He's a dangerous man. Like, this was just a overwhelming victory. Khamzat just charged in, dove in, got him down, and mauled him. Mauled him until he broke his face.
Do you think it's different with Du Plessis?
I don't
Because
know.
he can wrestle.
He can wrestle. He's got very good jiu-jitsu. He hits fucking hard, and he's a big, durable dude.
And that brings us to the part that really caught Joe's attention, Dricus Du Plessis' actual training clips. It's one thing to talk about potential, but it's another to show it through preparation. These new videos didn't just highlight strength or speed, they showed how well-rounded and focused Dricus has become. This wasn't just some flashy training montage, it looked like the hard, uncomfortable kind of work that fighters hate, but champions live in. In one of the clips, Dricus is seen sparring in what looks like a high-pressure drill. He's not just throwing wild shots, he's setting things up, landing clean punches, and staying composed when pressure is coming back. His footwork has noticeably improved. Instead of being flat-footed or stiff, he's now moving with purpose, adjusting angles, and staying sharp even after throwing combinations. That kind of technical sparring is often where fighters make the biggest leaps, and Dricus looked like someone who's been drilling these habits for a long time.
Let's go. Go, go.
Then there's the heavy bag footage. Now, a lot of fighters hit the bag for power or speed, but Dricus seems to be focusing on timing and accuracy too. You can see him pause between shots, step around, and reset. It's not just about throwing hard punches, it's about knowing when to throw them. That may sound small, but in real fights, that difference can create knockouts or avoid getting countered. Joe has talked before about how timing beats speed, and this kind of training clearly leans into that philosophy. But the most talked about part of the footage had nothing to do with striking. There was a clip showing Dricus working on takedown defense, and this one raised eyebrows. He was standing inside a cage wall, and 5 different training partners tried to take him down, one after the other. Not one of them succeeded. They pushed, pulled, tripped, and drove in with double legs, but Dricus stayed upright. What stood out wasn't just his strength, but his awareness. He was keeping his base wide, underhooks tight, and using the cage smartly. It looked like he wasn't just surviving these attempts, he was controlling them.
Is Hamza going to be able to take me down? Absolutely. Absolutely he'll be able to take me down. This is how a fight works. I would hope so. Isn't he like some Swedish champion or something? I would hope he could take me down. But then he has to deal with me on the ground and he has to keep me there. Can I take Hamza down? Absolutely. Am I going to take Hamza down? Absolutely. I'm not scared of Hamza wrestling. I'm not evading. I'm not trying to get...
Another clip showed him doing kettlebell work, and again, it wasn't flashy. There were deep squats, presses, and functional movements that mimic how a fighter's body moves in a cage. You could see his focus on balance, posture, and core strength. These aren't the kinds of exercises you do to look good. They're the ones you do to stay explosive in round 3. And for someone like Dricus, who pushes the pace, building that type of durability is key.
That's much better. Yeah. Right. Let's go. Right. Time from the top three. Right. So we stick building off his strength base. We maintain his strength year round, and we're slowly transitioning his strength to explosive power, power endurance, and then fight-specific conditioning. So just towards the end of the 8-week camp, you know, we really go into creating a fight distance speciality, using fight specific movements, being able to keep up the fight pace for 5.
There's something very grounded about this kind of training. No over-the-top setups or high-tech machines, just basic, grueling drills repeated until they become second nature. Watching those clips, you get the sense that Dricus isn't trying to reinvent himself. He's just sharpening every weapon he already has. But no matter how impressive Dricus's training looks, there's one man who's not buying into the hype, Khamzat Chimaev. And when it comes to raw belief in himself, Khamzat's never short of confidence. In a recent interview with Daniel Comrier, Khamzat opened up about what he really thinks of Du Plessis. At first, he didn't even rate him. He admitted he used to think Dricus wasn't that great, but things changed after Dricus kept winning. He beat Darren Till, handled Derek Brunson, and shocked a lot of fans by finishing Robert Whittaker. Then came the big one, defeating Israel Adesanya and becoming champion. Now that's when Khamzat should have said, okay, clearly this guy's doing something right. But even with all those wins, Khamzat remains firm. He believes Adesanya is the better overall fighter. He went a bit deeper, too. Khamzat talked about how important hunger is in a fight. He said that sometimes, even if you're not the more skilled fighter, you win because your heart refuses to quit. You dig deep, survive the tough rounds, and come back stronger in the end. That's the edge Khamzat thinks Adesanya doesn't have anymore. In his eyes, Adesanya lost the belt because of being a fighter without the fire at this point. And when it comes to Dricus, Khamzat believes that Adesanya is still better than him.
The champ is Dricus Du Plessis. What do you make of him? Because I gotta be honest, man, like, at first I thought he wasn't very good, but clearly he's good, right? Because he beats everybody, and then he goes and finishes Adesanya. Like, what do you make of Dricus Du Plessis? Especially seeing that he submitted Izzy. I've never seen him submit anybody.
Yeah, but Izzy is going down slowly. I don't think so. He's not motivated like before.
You don't think so?
I don't think so, but Izzy is better fighter than Du Plessis, I think.
You think Izzy's better than Dricus?
Yeah,
but they fought.
They fought, but like a fighter. I mean, but then you have how much you're hungry, how much you want. These things is well. You can be a bad fighter, and you could be. There's some guy can beat you up 4 rounds, and last round because of your heart, you win the fight. You know, so that's that thing he don't have anymore. I think, but he is a good fighter. He's not by fighting. I think he's much better.
And it's not just heart or mentality. Khamzat also brought up the wrestling. He pointed out that Rob Whittaker was able to take Dricus down during their fight. To Khamzat, that's a red flag. If Rob could take him down, then Khamzat believes he'll have no trouble doing the same. After all, grappling is one of Khamzat's biggest weapons. He didn't dive too deep into the analysis, but the message was clear. He thinks Dricus' wrestling defense isn't on the level needed to stop him.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Dricus as a champion, his run so far, and what do you make of his grappling?
What do you think, guys? How I done with this guy, Rob? How he done? Rob took him down, so if Rob took him down, so there is salam alaikum.
So now, the picture is getting clearer. Dricus is grinding hard, pushing limits in training, and sharpening every tool in his kit. On the other side, Khamzat is watching closely, staying confident, and picking apart the gaps he plans to exploit. It's more than just a battle of skills. It's a clash of mindsets, of willpower, and of 2 very different roads to the top. And now we turn it over to you. After seeing Dricus' training and hearing Khamzat's thoughts, who do you think takes the win if these 2 meet in the octagon? Drop your predictions in the comments below. We're all watching this one closely.